Welcome to Prepper Nation. I'm John. Thank you very much for being here. Y'all rock. So, what if I told you that there was a situation happening here in the United States right now? Not a what if, not 3 days till doomsday, not blah blah blah. None of the scare stuff, right? What if I told you there was a situation happening literally right now that was going to affect you directly, or at the very least, indirectly? Every single person watching this video, myself included, would you listen? I hope so, because that's what I'm talking about this evening, okay? The silver tsunami. And this is not a fancy term that I coined here in the workshop with the writing and stuff. It kind of sounds like it. It sounds like something from, a fiction novel or something, but no, this is a term that our own government has coined. The financial experts, and I use that term lightly, folks. Y'all know what I'm saying? Within the White House, within the entire administration, they've coined the silver tsunami. And again, it's a strange term. It's a term that caught my attention and got me reading in the first place because it was kind of a side note when I saw it in mainstream media. I said, well, it sounds interesting. Let's see what it's all about. Maybe a bunch of people are getting ready to retire in Congress. They've been there for 150 years or something. But I digress. Point is, the silver tsunami is real. And what I'm about to tell you, we're going to go over 3 different bullet points here, and I'll explain each one because it's really a 3-pronged SHTF that I think is going to lead to the collapse of the United States of America. Number 3 in particular is going to lead to the collapse of the United States of America. So please stick around for the entire video. Okay, number 1, mass retirement here in the United States. Retirement is nothing new, okay? There's always this fear that you're going to lose the benefits that are owed to you after you've worked your entire life. There's always a back and forth between the political wings of who's responsible for that. But the silver tsunami begins with the largest retirement. Like this year alone, 4.1 million Americans are set to retire. And they're saying, this is 11,000 people per day that are retiring. And the United States has never seen anything like this before. So this is really what got our financial experts. This got their attention and they started looking into it. And again, I've read several articles on this. Now you can Google the silver tsunami; it pops right up. But I've read several, and I actually think it's going to be worse than our government realizes, which we're going to go over. Again, the largest rate of retirement per day in history. But that's not the scary part here, folks. The scary part, and our government does realize this, which is why the articles are popping up. A lot, and I mean a high percentage of these retirees are working jobs that are vital to society. Okay, so, and this is not to look down on anyone, okay, moving forward in this video, but I'm saying some jobs are just vitally important. All right, and I'm going to name off a few because they're getting ready to see a ton of people leave the workforce in these areas. Electricians, plumbers, welders, mechanics and master mechanics, right? Pediatricians, airline pilots, registered nurses, educators, especially competent educators, law enforcement, pharmacists, dentists, and dental hygienists, and all of this stuff. These are vital to our society, believe it or not. Now, this is, again, for some folks, this is not going to be as scary as a nuke popping off and boom, 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 all of a sudden. I get it, sell stuff, but I'm here to give you the truth this afternoon, okay? This is a super SHTF, because the issue that they're having is, and what our government has discovered is, the people that replace these retirees are in no way, shape, or form qualified for these jobs. Yeah, we have a lot of people coming across the border, but as I've said in the past on this channel, most of them are not coming here with PhDs. Most of them are not certified electricians, right? Most of them are not chiropractors or high-level educators who are competent, or registered nurses. Most of the people coming across the border have a very low skill set, meaning they can do manual labor. They can, move this pile of rocks over here, right? They can do farming work. They can do jobs that are not, I mean, they are vital. We need farmers and things, but we don't have tons of farmers retiring, is the issue. People coming across the border are not qualified, by and large, to fly 747s. And we don't have a lot of people there waiting in the wings, pun intended, to replace airline pilots. We don't have a lot of people that are, in apprenticeship programs for plumbing and electrical work and stuff. Sorry, I know that AI is coming and it's the real deal, but AI is not fixing the pipes under your sink. AI is not going to go through and be able to rewire your entire home when it comes to the electrical stuff. You need hands to do that, not nerds behind a computer screen somewhere, actual physical hands and the knowledge to do it. It is a learned skill set. It is a very specific skill set, and these are all important. Okay, you cannot just throw some random person in there and expect them to pick up the slack for a registered nurse who is retiring. You cannot throw somebody in there to educate people. I guess you could, but you shouldn't, when they can't put coherent sentences together and they don't know the difference between it's, and it's. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of the people, this is nothing new. Younger generations replacing older generations, been happening since we were a country, right? But this is the first time in the history of our country where we have all of these people retiring and set to retire at one time, lifetime law enforcement, pharmacists, and things. And the people who are supposed to replace them are working 20 hours a week, delivering pizzas, Uber driving, stuff like this. They don't have the specific skill set. So our government realizes this, and they realize there's a huge problem moving forward here in the United States of America, whether they want to take us off of the constitutional republic and push us in another direction. Doesn't matter. These people still do not have the skill sets that the government is going to need moving forward. Bringing us to number 2. There's a panic with Gen Z, but there's also a panic with our government and financial experts within the government. Again, experts. Because the people that are retiring, they say the boomer generation. I guess you can retire at any point in time if you have the cash. But a lot of boomers are retiring now, that generation, and they're eating through their cash. So what typically happens is they retire, they sit on a nest egg full of money. They go, at least around here in the past, they'll go to a local Hardee's, or some of y'all call it Carl's Jr. They'll sit around for half a day drinking coffee, gossiping with one another. Then they go home and they watch Gunsmoke or the Golden Girls. That's not happening anymore. There's this huge trend, and God love these people, man. They deserve it. They worked for this money. This is their money, right? But what money they have in the bank, they're spending on elaborate vacations and trips to other continents, cruise after cruise after cruise. They're burning through their nest eggs and enjoying their life. And again, they should. This is their money. Also worth mentioning is typically what happens. Here's what normally happens, okay? They'll sit on a nest egg of money in the past, and then when it's time to go into like an assisted living facility, that nest egg that's in the bank pays for their long-term care. And then the house, the home, the property, whatever that they own is being given to the next generation up, or, maybe grandkids, Gen Z in this case. But what's happening now is because these people the retirees are burning through the money they have in the bank, they're having to use their home, they're having to liquidate their assets to pay for long-term care. And the younger generation is sitting around waiting, and they're getting nothing. They're basically inheriting nothing from this generation that they were depending on. Um, they were depending on this money, the properties and stuff like this. Um, and they're saying, our government is saying, Gen Z especially, they said with Gen X, which I'm part of Gen X, what's up, Gen X, that we'll be okay, that the struggle will be real, but we came from a generation that still understood, um, working 9 to 5, 40 hours a week. The harder you work, you can get ahead in life. We come from a generation that believes that. Maybe there's some millennials that believe it, maybe some Gen Zers, but they said specifically Gen Z does not approach it this way. They're looking for side gig jobs. They want 20 hours a week. Side gigs is what I saw in these articles, or side hustles, and they're demanding $25 an hour. Now, we know, sane people know, this is not a good thing, because if McDonald's is paying $25 an hour, then you're walking in, and you're paying $40 for a combo. I mean, McDonald's is just going to pass it off to the consumer. And trust me, son, I ain't been to McDonald's in a minute, but nothing there. No combo I've ever eaten from that place is worth $40. But we get it. McDonald's is going to go through slash hours, blah, 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 and these people are going to actually have less money. Um, and they're saying that Gen Z, maybe some millennials, but specifically Gen Z was mentioned again, they're going to have trouble surviving, just flat out surviving, once the boomer generation is gone, because again, the property is going to be tied up now with the banks, because the banks had to bail these people out for long-term care. The banks are going to want money for the housing. Gen Z is not going to have money for housing. Gen Z is going to be, at that point, probably demanding $35 an hour, to work fast food or something. It just doesn't make sense, from a financial standpoint. And when you get right down to it and you split hairs on it, retirees in this generation are just enjoying their life. They're taking their money. They don't look at it as, I'm retiring, my life is over. They're looking at it as, oh, I got some money in the bank. Let's go to Europe and spend 6 months. Let's go on a few cruises here and there, son. They're having the time of their life. And again, good for them. And bringing us to number 3, which is where our own government, I don't think they've picked up on this yet, but this was the pickup when I was reading these articles. And this is where I believe society's going to, we're watching the collapse of America right now. I call it the aftermath. What does this mean for America long term? So they were talking about housing, and they were talking about Gen Z expecting money to fall, out of the sky from their grandparents or whatever, that's never coming. But when I looked at this with a critical eye, I said, there's another problem. Yeah, there's going to be a shortage of doctors. I've already ran into this in minute clinics and stuff, and serious wait times. A shortage of pharmacies being open. We've already seen that in our area. A pharmacist will have to travel around. It's going to get worse, is what I'm trying to say. Trying to find plumbers and electricians, yeah, it's hard. And when you can find one, they want top dollar because everybody needs them. And there's not, it's a supply and demand issue, but it goes beyond that. Think about this long and hard here, folks. Think about what is happening. The boomer generation, specifically from this year to 2030, they're saying we're going to see insane amounts of retirement from professional jobs and skilled positions. What do those people do for the government? They pay taxes. At the end of the year, your college professors, they owe taxes, right? Excuse me, they owe taxes. Electricians that work 60, 70 hours a week sometimes, they pay a lot in taxes. Registered nurses, doctors, pediatricians, they all pay taxes, right? And they're being replaced by people working 20 hours a week delivering fast food. Those are jobs where the employees are not paying taxes. Not in the grand scheme of things. And again, I'm not looking down on anybody. I'm just being a realist here, okay? You may see $120 taken out of your check every month or what. I don't know how they get paid, but whatever, you get the point. But at the end of the year, especially if you have kids at the end of the year, if the government's giving you $14,000 back and you do the math, you're relying on the government to help you to survive. Whereas a lot of the people that are retiring, that was never the case. The people retiring were supporting the government via tax money. The generation coming up, the government is supporting them with tax money that eventually it's not going to be there anymore. The government is about to lose a serious amount of revenue over the course of the next several years. We are $34 trillion in debt. This is $101,000 per citizen. That's a big number on its own, okay? But it's almost $200,000 per taxpayer, right? And a lot of these taxpayers are getting ready to retire. So this $200,000 is then going to be shifted on top of another $101,000. Like, somebody owes the money. So if this taxpayer owes $200,000 to the government, in order to pay the national debt off, and they retire, the government has to take that debt. They have to lay it into the lap of somebody that already owes $101,000. That's $300,000. And this person is delivering food part-time. It's never going to be paid back, and the government is going to run out of money. We are watching the collapse of the United States of America, and I think they're on to something with this silver tsunami, the government, but I don't know that they have thought this far ahead. They're worried about how are we going to replace the airline pilots and the plumbers. They haven't really thought about how are we going to replace the tax revenue that the pilots and the plumbers and the doctors are paying in. It is getting ready to get biblical in this country. Let me know what you think in the comments. Take care. God bless.